Hey guys, welcome back to your second UDK tutorial. We're going to be looking at some of the folders in the UDK files just to kind of see what they do, familiarize ourselves a little bit with it. As you can see, when you open up your UDK folder, there's 4 subfolders: binaries, development, engine, and UDK game. Let's go ahead and open up the binaries folder. Now what binaries are, in this instance, we're going to find some tools for animators and artists in here. Basically just plugins that will take files from other programs and import them into our game so that we can place and use them in our game. Actor X is something that we're probably going to get into later. If you create objects for your game, whether animated or just static objects that you don't intend on moving, you can import them from a program like Blender or Maya into the UDK, and Actor X would be the plugin that we would use for that. FaceFX plugins, if you let's say you had some dialogue that you wanted one of your NPCs to say to your character using a sound file, you can use FaceFX plugin to lip sync and just do basic facial animations with your characters if that's something you're interested in doing. GFX. GFX deals with heads-up displays or HUDs in games, which is your character screen, inventory, things like that. Sounds like something that we'll be getting into quite a bit, actually. And the last one I want to talk to you about is Speed Tree Modeler. Speed Tree Modeler is, just like, let's say that this was our level here, this background that I have on my computer, and it was just barren. Speed Tree Modeler, from what it sounds like, is just basically a way of painting trees and things like that onto the landscape in a more efficient way than just placing them individually, just so that our world seems to have some kind of, it just seems like it's a little bit more full. We can just place vegetation quickly. Okay, so let's get back to our 4 main subfolders, and we'll go to development now. Development is where we're going to be working quite a bit. This is where our source code is, and the first part of my UDK tutorial is going to be focused on learning Unreal Script. So when we write an Unreal Script, that will be our source code. This SRC folder is where our source code is going to be. It's basically all you need to know about that right now. A lot of this other stuff is it's not really important to what we're doing at this point in time. The engine folder, a lot of this stuff it's basically just hands off. It's the engine that came with the UDK. It's the main reason why I want to work with the UDK, but it's not something that we're going to be getting into modifying. It's basically, if you don't know what you're doing, don't touch it, and we don't know what we're doing, so let's not touch it. And UDK game, there's a lot of things in this folder that we need to talk about. This is basically where all your content for your game will be found. So when you finally go and you compile your game and you run it and things like that, and it wants to know, if your game says that there's a chair in a room and it wants to know where the model is, and it's all going to come from these folders. Okay, so let's start with a folder that doesn't even exist yet, which is going to be autosave. So as you're working on your project, there's going to be an autosave folder that automatically gets created in here that will allow you to come back to a point that obviously that it auto-saved for you as you were working on a project. Now I think it's good practice to save anyway, but at least you have a point to come back to in case you forget. Now we'll go to config files. This is full of INI files, which can be opened with a just Notepad. If you just right click and go to edit. This is where you can configure your game, that the user can configure different settings in their game, such as screen resolution, default keybinds, things like that. So right click on the default input and go to edit, and as you can see, it's a little less user-friendly than games that we're used to at this point, but I'm sure that we can come up with some kind of heads-up display or something later to change it. But for now, this is where we're going to change our keybinds and things like that. So W, A, S, and D are common movement keys in video games, and as you can see here, we can deduce that W is the command for move forward. You know, A is the command for strafe left and strafe. You know, this is all pretty common stuff in video games, and obviously we can change those keybinds through this folder. Okay, let's go back here. Next thing I want to talk to you guys about is content. Content's going to be a big folder, at least file size wise. This is where all of your art, sound, characters, I mean, all of that stuff is going to be in here. Localization is if you want to make your video game in different languages. You know, let's say you have a quest that you want a character to go on, and there's a big text file for it. Localization would just be your translation text, you know, to in case you want to go from, you know, to a Spanish-speaking player or Russian or whatever. That's where you'd find all that stuff. Logs, it basically just records game events and any debugging code that we put in. So when you're playing the game, if there's some kind of error or runtime error or things like that, it would go into the log file, and then we could go back into this log file, you know, and maybe see what happened so that we could fix it. Now I'm told that we're going to be working in this a lot, and apparently it's extremely helpful when we're looking to fix things. And you know, obviously I hope it doesn't happen too often, but let's be realistic. None of us know what we're doing yet. So, movies is the next one I want to look at. That's, you know, cutscenes, game, you know, game loading, level loading screens. You know, pretty self-explanatory. And splash. When your game starts up, there's a splash screen that says, you know, we made this game using UDK, and that's basically what this is. And presumably, if you made your own splash screen, you know, it would probably go into this folder too. So that's basically what I wanted to talk to you guys about in this one. You know, just so we're not, you know, when we go through here, you know, it's kind of intimidating, all the files and things like that. I just want to give you a basic heads up of what a lot of this stuff is and what it does, and hopefully that helps out a little bit. You know, makes it a little less intimidating. So, all right, we'll see you in the next video.